The news is live on Class 91.3 FM in Accra, Ho FM 92.5 in the Volta region, Dagmon FM 102.5 in Tamale, Radio 1 92.1 in the Upper West region, Radio Power 96 in Spain, around the world. Join us on classfmonline.com. Coming up in this bulletin, minority challenges wound to me conviction as reaction trail High Court ruling.
Let's be very clear about what is going on. Because of people's personal greed, other people are dying. It's very disappointing that we can't see beyond party colors to the gravity of the situation on the ground.
Meanwhile, lawyer Maliba described Wuntumi's conviction as a true reflection of the rule of law.
So at least the judge was magnanimous. So I think all in all, the judge was within his power and he did what he was mandated to do under the law.
Calls grow for transparency in constitutional reform process. Also coming up in this bulletin, Parliament will today consider a $331 million project to expand senior high school and TVET infrastructure.
Indeed, Cabinet has given its approval. Parliament should be looking at it tomorrow of a 331 million Star J project to expand access to secondary education to improve its quality and relevance in Ghana.
These plus many other stories, including African news, coming your way shortly.
This is the Class Breakfast News.
I am Elizabeth Adrian. You're welcome to Class 91.3 FM. Let's settle for the details of the news. The conviction of the New Patriotic Party Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Entry Bosiako, known as Chairman Wontumi, has sparked fresh legal and public debate, with the minority preparing to challenge the High Court ruling. The minority says it will challenge the 20-year prison sentence handed to Chairman Wontumi and his company, Akonta Mining Limited, arguing that the trial was marred by constitutional and procedural breaches. In a statement signed by Minority Leader Alexander Fenyo Markin, the minority argued that the High Court erred by delivering judgment in the absence of Wuntumi's lead counsel despite prior notice of his unavailability. According to the minority, the decision violated Article 19, Clause 2, Paragraph G of the 1992 Constitution, which guarantees every accused person the right to legal representation of their choice. The minority also criticized the trial court's refusal to refer the constitutional question on Section 99, Clause 2, Paragraph B of the Minerals and Mining Act to the Supreme Court, insisting that the only apex court has the right and the authority to interpret such constitutional matters. The minority is arguing and urging the Wuntumi's lead counsel to pursue all available appellate remedies, including an appeal and application for certiorari. Meanwhile, speaking on 505 yesterday, lawyer Maliba defended the High Court's decision, describing the conviction as an evidence that the judiciary is taking firm action against illegal mining. He maintained that Chairman Wontumi was taken through the due process and that conviction was criminal in nature, not politically motivated.
Well, the judiciary has executed its responsibilities. Under our constitution, the president has what is called the power of prerogative of mercy. So for me, I will wait to see how the president would accept the request, in what way he's going to accept the request. But I want to limit myself to what happened in court today.
Abraham Maliba also insisted that the conviction was a victory for the rule of law rather than political prosecution.
Well, this is a matter that is purely criminal in the sense that he was prosecuted under the Minerals and Mining Act, and so it has no political coloration. It is purely an act that was committed by Wontumi. Never mind, he's a politician, but once he was taken through due process, I think is a rule of law that is victorious. The Mining Act prohibits illegal mining as well as related offense. It is very strict. It calls for a mandatory prison sentence of 15 to 25 years. But I think that the judge decided to give Wontumi 20 years and did not give Wontumi the maximum. The minimum is 15, the maximum is 25. But I think the sentence today said 20 years. So at least the judge was magnanimous. So I think all in all, the judge was within his power and he did what he was mandated to do under the law.
That's lawyer Abraham Amaliba speaking also on 505 yesterday. Executive Director of Eco-Conscious Citizen and member of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Awula Sewa, criticized calls by some leading members of the MPP for a presidential pardon for Chairman Wontumi. She described the move as disappointing, saying national interest should come before partisan considerations.
It's very disappointing, very, very disappointing. I'm not quite sure if people have not seen the images, have not seen the devastation, if they are not aware of the meaning of ecocide, if they are not aware that over 60% of our water bodies have been poisoned as a consequence of the ongoing ecocide, if they can only see party colors but cannot see the gravity of the situation, I think it's very, very disappointing. We believe that the right decision was reached, the conviction is a right one, and it should be a watershed moment for Ghanaians to know that accountability will come. Accountability will come. I'm not quite sure about the rationale in pardoning anybody because, you see, this is causing ecocide. Let's be very clear about what is going on. Because of people's personal greed, other people are dying. Other people have got kidney disease. Your assets should be sold. It's very disappointing that we can't see beyond party colors to the gravity of the situation on the ground.
That's the Executive Director of Eco-Conscious Citizen and member of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Awula Sewa. The security analyst Adib Sani also welcomed the conviction, describing it as a step in the right direction in the fight against illegal mining.
Definitely better than nothing. The fact that, one person, a very so-called, very powerful, so to speak, person has been arrested and need to go through the process, I think is a welcoming news. The right channels have been followed. And I do hope that the same channels will be followed in ensuring that all others who are so in the business of illegal mining are dealt with.
That's security analyst Adib Sani. While welcoming the revocation of Executive Instrument 144 on portions of the Achimota Forest Reserve, the Coalition Against Galamsey, Ghana says more sustained action is needed to tackle illegal mining. Speaking at a press conference, the coalition acknowledged government efforts but insisted that enforcement against Galamsey remains inconsistent and inadequate to protect the country's forests, rivers and mining communities. The group rejected claims that the era of impunity in illegal mining is over, calling for fairer and impartial enforcement of law regardless of the individual or interest involved.
Until we brace ourselves and commit to bold, decisive reform that guarantees intergenerational well-being, the present drivers of our environmental crisis of poor governance, greed, state capture, and the erosion of community safeguards will not go away. They will keep this nation locked in a vicious cycle of resource degradation and mounting climate vulnerabilities. 8. Other critical issues that require urgent.
Thus, a convener for the Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Dr. Ken Ashigbe. Parliament will today begin consideration of a $331 million project designed to improve infrastructure in secondary and TVET schools as part of efforts to strengthen the free senior high school program. Education Minister Harun Idrisu announced the initiative during Government Accountability Series yesterday.
I'm happy to note that in respect of infrastructure, it is for that reason that President John Dramani Mahama, leading with his Minister for Finance, have completed negotiations. Indeed, Cabinet has given its approval. Parliament should be looking at it of a 331 million Star J project to expand access to secondary education, to improve its quality and relevance in Ghana. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Star J project will cover some 210 schools across senior high school and senior high technical vocational schools and TVET schools across the country. There would be rehabilitation of 112 schools across the country, 38 TVET schools. So in all, 150 schools will benefit from our rehabilitation and will see some expansion in their infrastructure by way of dormitory classroom and laboratories.
The minister also said the government is set to introduce coding, artificial intelligence, electronics and TVET into Ghana's basic school curriculum as part of a major review aimed at equipping learners with skills for a technology-driven future.
As I speak to you, one of the most significant decisions we took as government was to revise our education curriculum. And the agency responsible is NACA, the National Curriculum Review Agency. They were asked to revise our education curriculum from kindergarten to junior high school. I'm happy to note that on Wednesday, a revised curriculum for all people from kindergarten to junior high school will be presented formally to the Ministry of Education for onward submission to the President and for the policy to go to Cabinet and Parliament.
That's the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu. Thousands of unemployed trained teachers are demanding certainty over their future as a coalition of unemployed trained teachers urges government to honor its teacher recruitment promises. The cause follows the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu's announcement that government has approved the recruitment of an additional 16,000 teachers to strengthen the country's education system. Reacting to the announcement, the Vice President of the Coalition of Unemployed Trained Teachers, Evans Owusu, urged government to stick to its timelines and improve communications with unemployed graduates.
Since about 3 years now, recruitment dates keep changing and the news keeps changing. Now the numbers came that 7,000 out of the 40,000 that were applied, and letters will be issued out today. At first, they said 1st July, it didn't come on, they said today. And now another date has been given by the Minister for Education from 24th. So the issue is that we are happy with the number, but the truth of the matter is that the inconsistency in dates and in numbers is not making us trust the process. We want to let the government know that as trained teachers, earlier, what we know is that after you are being, you are done with school, you are being employed in our bodies. But this government said they are going to recruit 2 bodies together. From June, they said they will be recruiting 50,000 staff, but the numbers keep changing. Now, what we are telling the government is that if they are adding another number, there should be clear timeline in the recruitment process.
That's the Vice President of the Coalition of Unemployed Trained Teachers, Evans Owusu. Calls are growing for greater transparency in constitutional reform process, with the citizen platforms on constitutional reform demanding the publication of the full review report. The group welcomed Cabinet's announcement that the Attorney General and Minister of Justice will publish government's position paper on the Constitutional Review Committee's recommendation this week. However, the citizens platform says the full report of the constitutional review must also be made public to allow citizens to engage meaningfully with the proposed reforms. The group noted that the publication of the government's position paper should pave the way for further steps, including a clear roadmap, implementation timelines, and mechanisms for public participation. The citizens platform on constitutional reform stressed that the credibility of the process would depend on transparency, inclusivity, and also accountability as Ghana consider possible changes to the 1992 Constitution. The new force has dismissed claims of any association with the base movement, insisting that the political movement is its founder, Nana Agyemang, has no affiliation, partnership, or formal relationship with the group. In a statement issued on Monday, July 20, the new force said recent public commentary and inquiries suggesting a connection between the two groups were inaccurate and should be disregarded. The movement stated that it had operated independently since its formation, with its focus centered on promoting what it described as a united, prosperous and transformational Ghana through innovation, integrity and citizen empowerment. The new force stressed that all official communication from the movement is released only through its authorized platform urging the public, supporters and the media to rely on verified sources for information. It maintained that any suggestions of collaboration or endorsement between the new force and the base movement is unfounded, adding that it remained committed to transparency, accountability and its vision of transformational leadership. To some African news before I leave, one of Africa's most ambitious energy infrastructure projects has finally been signed off at the highest level, with the West Africa leaders formally endorsing the long-awaited Nigeria-Morocco Atlantic gas pipeline. The vast 6,000 kilometers pipeline would run along the Atlantic coast of 14 African nations, carrying Nigerians' gas to Morocco before linking it into Europe's existing gas network via Spain. We'll bring you more details on this story. For now, this ends the Class Breakfast News with me, Elizabeth Edu. For more news and updates, do log on to classfmonline.com. The morning show continues with Charles Akrofi. Do stay and enjoy the rest of our programs. I am Elizabeth Edu. Have a good morning.
This is the Class Breakfast News.
Class News is expanding its frontiers as it can now be heard live on Dagbon FM 102.5. Join our news team on The Breakfast, 12 Live and 505.